Welcome to Hamburgers and Horror, the home of meat, monsters, and murderous cannibals hoping to chop Gen Z up. I'm Noah Hook, and today we're looking at the 2022 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Hey, Ron, what are you doing?
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
Everyone expects me to do something special with my life.
50 years I've been waiting for this night, just to see him again.
The ninth and currently final film in the TCM franchise once again takes the direct sequel to the original route, taking place 50 years after the original film. It follows a group of influencers who have bought up a deserted Texas town with the goal of transforming it into the hip new place to be. Only trouble is, in the process, they unknowingly awakened the chainsaw-toting, human skin-wearing monster that has been hiding there since the 70s. With the help of lone survivor Sally Hardesty, the sisters try to stop Leatherface from tanking their property values for good. After the release of Leatherface in 2017, Lionsgate took too long to release a follow-up and subsequently lost the rights to the franchise. Legendary Pictures acquired the rights, bringing in Fede Alvarez and Kim Henkel to help produce the film. Alvarez worked with his frequent co-writer Rodo Sayagüez of films like Evil Dead, Don't Breathe, and Alien Romulus to once again collaborate on this story. They brought in David Blue Garcia to direct, with this being only his second feature film, and Chris Devlin of Cobweb came in to write the final screenplay. They took a big page out of the Halloween 2018 playbook for this, but we'll get into that a bit later. Texas Chainsaw Massacre stars Elsie Fisher from Despicable Me as Lila, Sarah Yarkin from Happy Death Day to You as Melody, Jacob Lattimore from The Maze Runner as Dante, Mose Dunford from The Dig as Richter, Olwen Fuere from Watchers as Sally Hardesty, and Mark Burnham from Reality as Leatherface. The film was originally slated to begin filming in May of 2020, but due to COVID it was pushed for over a year. But they eventually got started, where cinematography was handled by Ricardo Diaz of All Fun and Games, and the score was composed by Colin Stetson of Hereditary. Theaters were still pretty iffy in 2021, so this bad boy had the opportunity to premiere on Netflix. It was not well received by audiences though, with critics deriding its many unlikable characters, terrible use of Sally, and terrible handling of contemporary social issues. It currently has a 30 and 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, along with a 1.8 on Letterboxd, placing it at the very bottom of this franchise. I'ma keep it real with y'all, a lot of this movie fucking sucks, and I'm gonna be making fun of it a lot throughout the next 20 minutes or so. But there are some solid kills here, some nice cinematography, and other elements that do deserve recognition, so I'll be sure to mention those as well. But hey, with all of that said, it's probably time we get started. Try anything and get canceled, bro, cause we're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The movie opens with a recap of the original film, once again narrated by John Larroquette.
In the summer of 1973, a few miles outside of Austin, Texas, 5 youths were attacked in a grisly and gruesome fashion by an unidentified madman.
But somehow, after all these years, the unknown skin-wearing killer has never been found. Our young protagonist Lila watches this documentary on a gas station TV and learns that Sally became a Texas Ranger after these events. Lila's here with her sister Melody and her business partner Dante, and his unimportant partner named Ruth. Seriously, they don't even say Ruth's name in the film, so she's just known as Dante's partner in the subtitles. Melody and Dante are entrepreneurial influencers from Austin who have come to the small Texas town of Harlow, having bought it up to transform it into some kind of bougie liberal utopia. The local Texans are not thrilled about it. It doesn't help that Melody antagonizes a coal-rolling, gun-toting local in the most cliché way possible.
Look at this guy. Who has such a small dick they need to walk around in public with a fucking gun?
The reason for her behavior is quickly explained though, as her sister Lila is the survivor of a school shooting. The group is stopped by the sheriff on their way into town. He makes it clear that he and the remaining locals love Harlow and want them staying out of trouble, but Melody smooths things over by explaining that their grandmother is actually from there. Dude is relatively chill by horror movie cop standards. They roll into the abandoned ghost town, most of which they have already bought and intend on turning into restaurants and art galleries for an incoming flood of people they're going to convince to move there.
Behold the joys of late-stage capitalism.
Turns out that coal roller from earlier, whose name is Richter, is actually their contractor and has been fixing up the place for the big auction they are having with investors today.
We're idealistic individuals who want to build a better world.
He too is skeptical.
Yeah, that's a cult.
Dante spots a rather unsightly flag and heads into an orphanage to take it down, only to realize that it hasn't been vacated.
Wish I'd known you all were coming. I'd put my face on.
This woman named Jenny has run this orphanage for 50 years and is adamant that they have not purchased this building, but the mix of Dante not believing her, the Confederate flag, and her use of the word Negroes leaves him unwilling to stick around to see if she actually has the title. Her big scary boy watches as she and Melody argue, and the sheriff's attempt to remove her causes a full-on heart attack. Leatherface loads her into the police van just as the bus full of investors pull up, so Ruth volunteers to ride along to the hospital to make sure everything's okay. All this shit is enough for Lila to finally tell her sister she has no interest in living here, but Melody thinks she is better off far from the dangers of city life. Jenny quickly croaks on the way to the hospital, which causes poor sweet Leatherface to freak the fuck out. He breaks the deputy's arm in half and shanks him with his own radius, and the ensuing chaos leaves the sheriff getting shot in the neck. They swerve into a sunflower field and hit a combine. While the yuppies are busy buying up the properties, Lila asks Richter why he's such a dick. He don't like rich, self-righteous city folk, fair enough, but he also cools his jets when he realizes she survived a shooting that left a bunch of her friends dead.
That must be tough. Living with that.
Everyone expects me to do something special with my life now, and I can only disappoint them.
Mel sees a text from Ruth saying the old lady died, which freaks her out enough to want to get Lila out of there. Speaking of Ruth, she wakes up in the blood-soaked van to find Leatherface living up to his name with his adopted mommy's face. She calls out for help on the radio, but only just before Leather finishes off the sheriff with Jenny's oxygen tank. She's quickly killed next with a shard of glass to the gut. Marco! Hello! Okay, bye! Ruth's call did get picked up by that gas station clerk though, who shares what he overheard with none other than Sally Hardesty from the original film. Yeah, it's giving major Halloween 2018 Laurie Strode vibes. Meanwhile, Richter snatches the keys to the party bus, announcing that he'd be happy to give them back if they can prove they actually did buy Jenny's home. Dante can't find the deed, so he and Melody decide to break into Jenny's to hunt down the deed she claimed to have. They rifle through the dead woman's things and eventually find the deed, which means that these dummies really did break and enter and basically murder her. No time to reflect on this though, as Bubba is home and he's fucking pissed. Melody watches as he butchers Dante and as he takes a moment to mourn his foster mama. No time to sulk though, as there's far too many out-of-towners here for Leatherface's liking. He takes a sledgehammer to a wall to uncover his long-lost chainsaw, which has been waiting for its turn to once again carve up some kids. Speaking of, Dante and his fucked up face aren't quite dead yet. Oh, never mind, now he's dead. Richter has Christine, the bank agent who helped secure all the loans they needed to buy Harlow, keep everyone on the bus, while he and his side piece go to investigate. Leatherface hears him coming and hides in the shadows, and despite some visual assistance from Melody, the poor dude gets absolutely annihilated by Leatherface. In his final moments, Richter is able to retrieve the bus key right before Bubba smashes his head like a pumpkin. Meanwhile, Sally checks out the sunflower field murder scene, also overhearing word of a murder in Harlow. For some reason, Christine doesn't share with the group that there's been a murder, so Lila goes off searching for her sister. Melody's failed escape attempt finds her knocked underneath the floorboards and playing a game of chainsaw whack-a-mole. It also gets her covered in poop. Lila saves her in the nick of time and they get back to the bus though. Too bad Bubba saws the tires and beheads the bus driver. This leads to the film's most advertised scene and cringeworthy line as Leatherface enters the party bus.
Try anything and you cancel, bro.
But all the live stream viewers in the world can't save these influencers from the wrong end of a chainsaw. Leatherface mulches through the crowd one by one with some fantastic gore on display, triggering Lila back to the shooting. She and Melody manage to escape via bathroom window, but the same can only be said for half of Christine. Sally arrives just in time to pick up the sisters, but she's too busy monologuing to give a fuck about them wanting to leave.
50 years I've been waiting for this night. Just to see him again.
Sally uses the locked-in women as Bubba bait, although she immediately leaves the truck to search inside. She finds Leatherface sitting like a bump on a log, but much to Sally's dismay, he pays her no mind and does not seem to remember her.
You don't remember me.
Then he just leaves so he can keep attacking the sisters, which is when Sally finally goes on the very cringy offensive.
I'm the one who got away, and I'm here to make sure you don't. Motherfucker.
The two play a bit of cat and mouse before going into hand-to-hand combat, but Sally brought a knife to a chainsaw fight. Melody manages to bump Leatherface with Sally's car, although this crashes them into Richter's garage. Melody's pinned inside and tells Lila to make a run for it, but she instead attempts to take out Leatherface with Richter's rifle. Her having no clue how to use the gun is actually a really funny, nice detail. Somehow still alive, Sally manages to blast Leatherface from her garbage pile, momentarily scaring him off. She yaps to Lila about being haunted when you run from your demons, offering up her shotgun before dying. Thanks, Sally, that was all super helpful. Lila arms up and searches for him, but Leatherface manages to get the jump on her in a giant pit of water. I hope none of the investors were planning on buying that building. Lila emerges from the pit with Leatherface hot on her trail, taking her out at the ankle with a well-placed chainsaw chuck. Just as all hope seems lost and Lila accepts her fate, Melody appears and starts fighting back. This gives her the courage to grab the shotgun and shoot Bubba a couple of times, but it's actually Melody who delivers the final blow with Leatherface's own chainsaw. Leatherface slowly sinks below the surface and the sisters embrace. The two hop into Dante's self-driving car and put the top down, and it seems like a happy ending. Oh shit, never mind! Lila watches her sister get fucking beheaded as she's trapped in autopilot to end the movie. And that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, this one's a bit of a stinker. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of strong elements and fun things going on in the movie, but there's also a lot of things I'm not a big fan of. I'm gonna start with my biggest complaint, which is the film's absolutely abysmal use of Sally Hardesty. The writers just so clearly took the idea from Halloween 2018 and a couple other legacy horror sequels that were happening around this time, trying to take an OG final girl and turn her into an older, badass wannabe Terminator. It didn't really work for me in Halloween 2018, and it's fucking unbearable here. Every single line out of Sally's mouth is just ridiculous. Nobody talks like that. Not to mention, it's not even Sally's original actress. That on its own isn't the end of the world, especially given that Marilyn Burns had passed away by this time. But to bring back such an important character just to kill her off in the most disrespectful way, all of it just seems so wrong to me. You bring back a legacy character just to shit on that legacy? But outside of all the Sally stuff, which I do once again want to stress is terrible, I actually do like some of the character work happening here. I know the internet loves to hate on Melody, but I found her and Lila to be some of the more fleshed out final girls we've had in this franchise. Their whole story arc of not getting along and arguing, but also being worried for and caring for each other, and then ultimately joining forces against Leatherface all works just fine for me. But outside of those two, I wish some of the other side characters got a little more screen time to be a bit more fleshed out. Not including the credits, this film is only an hour and 12 minutes. I can understand the creators wanting to make a lean, mean, slick slasher, but more screen time for Jenny, Leatherface, Richter, and especially Sally would have went a long, long way. I could also give or take the film's wishy-washy political themes. It's always been a pretty political franchise, with even in the original, these young, carefree hippies wandering into the old, conservative Texas town, but this film has zero nuance or subtlety when it comes to any of this subject matter. If anything, the divided nature of our country is played for laughs here, sort of like in The Hunt, and admittedly some of the jokes do land for me. But I really think the whole school shooting element is just an absolutely bizarre inclusion, and it's critically underexplored and thematically unclear as to why it's here and what the whole purpose of it all was. It is a long-held tradition for horror movie final girls to have some kind of trauma coming into the film. It makes them more brave, it makes them fight harder, and all of that good stuff. But this is a really dark, really real, really timely subject matter to add on to a young character. I'm not opposed to the idea of mass shootings being incorporated into horror or them being a certain element within a certain character, but I am certain that the straight to streaming 9th Texas Chainsaw movie is not the place to be doing that. On the technical side, this film is really solid though. The kills are heavy on practical effects and very bloody, and the cinematography really gets to shine here. They even did a good job of helping us understand the layout of Leatherface's home. It's a small detail but an important one. Back in the original and even the 2003 remake, the house was really important to the setting, and I liked that we got to spend a lot of time in here. I also like Leatherface's sad old lady look here. This is the first time we've seen him wear the face of someone he loves, which is a really interesting idea that I also wish was played with a bit more. Oh, I also feel really compelled to mention just how stupid this whole real estate plan sounds. Like, as a general rule, businesses open up where people are. Nobody fucking lives here. You killed one of the only 2 residents left. Who's coming out to the comic book store or the brunch place in the completely deserted Texas town? It's not like they had anyone planning to build apartment buildings or anything. They were just building a bunch of useless crap with 0 customers to use it. It's really not a big deal, but it annoys me every time I watch the movie. And similar to a few other entries, this movie makes the mistake of having Leatherface simply be a big silent slasher when that has never been the purpose of his character. This character is not Michael or Jason, he's not meant to stand alone. He is fundamentally more interesting when he has his fucked up family to interact with. This Leatherface is pretty generic and unmemorable like 95% of the time. Texas Chainsaw Massacre has plenty of jokes about cancel culture and the Confederate flag, but I don't think it ever really stops to say anything of much value. It's also a film that's not going to age well because it really digs itself deep into 2020's culture and is really just going to be stuck as a sort of time capsule there. That doesn't inherently bother me too much because it's ultimately a film trying to have a lot of fun and make jokes, but it, as an experience, just feels a bit underwhelming. I actually think this might be a little bit overhated as far as Texas Chainsaw films go. I think it just has to do with the newness and the themes going on in it, but I would still probably have this pretty low on my list for the franchise. Texas Chainsaw Massacre works totally fine as a fun, fast-paced slasher movie, but it otherwise feels like a hodgepodge of shit we've seen before, whether that be in a previous film or on the morning news. If you're just looking for a short, bloody slasher film, you'll definitely get what you want out of it, but otherwise TCM 2022 doesn't have much to make it stand out amongst its other inbred siblings. Well, that's about it. I've now reviewed all 9 of the Texas Chainsaw films. Regardless of the film's varying qualities, it has been so much fun to cover my favorite film of all time and all of the wacky sequels that came to follow. Be sure to join me in 2 weeks as I get them all together and rank all 9 Texas Chainsaw films. But what do y'all think of Texas Chainsaw 2022? Love it? Hate it? You want to cancel it? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all so much for joining me, and an extra thank you to my patrons. As always, I'm Noah Hook, and thanks for watching Hamburgers and Horror. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching my review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up with all my horror reviews. And if you want to help support the channel further, you should check out my Patreon account. You'll be able to vote for future movies and franchises I cover on the channel. Thanks, y'all.